What's up, you guys? Welcome back. Today we got a little bit of a different video. So it's a lot going on in the drum community. A lot of talking. A good conversation actually that was brought up by the Cowboy drummer. Shouts out to you, bro. Cause I'm gonna piggyback off of a conversation you had started a few days ago. So let's get into it. Although I agree around 50% that most drummers sound the same, but I'm gonna take a different approach. First things first, on why I actually agree that most musicians sound the same, I'm talking about drummers at the moment, and why I don't see an issue with that. And this is the positive side, all right? Mainly, it comes from influence and inspiration. Let's go with Gospel Chops for an example. When Gospel Chops dropped, everybody got extremely influenced with gospel drumming, and the Eric Moores, the Tony Royster Jr.'s, the Thomas Pridgeons, Joey Oscar, the list goes on. Once we saw that, and also not to mention that they had, back in the day during the website, they had drum lessons where those guys broke down and gave different lessons on different chops and stuff like that. That went everywhere. Everybody was learning linear fields. It was probably their first time understanding what an inverted paradiddle was. I say that to say that heavy influence is definitely one of the main positive reasons why a lot of people sound like the gospel drummer. And I know that kind of like it's cringy to hear, or it's like a little triggering when I use the term gospel drummer. We're gonna get to that. We definitely gonna get to that. But yeah, getting back to the influence, like how powerful that is actually one of the main reasons why endorsements is even a thing. And this is another example of how you can end up sounding the same when you're influenced by a certain drummer and you end up getting, the drum heads that he uses, the cymbals that he uses. You even tune the snare the way he likes his snare tune, hence ending up sounding similar. But again, that type of influence is actually a good thing because it brings brand deals, it brings endorsements. Look at the NBA for an example. Steph Curry at the top of his game, right? He comes out with a shoe. Everybody loves Steph Curry. Everybody want to shoot like Steph Curry. So you gotta wear what he wears. Like it's comfortable enough for him, and it's a basketball shoe. If the greats is using it, why? Like, let me use it. I bet you if Steph Curry came out with a custom shooting sleeve and said that, this has helped me create the perfect arc on my shot, do you know how many young basketball players would be grabbing that shooting sleeve? Because of his influence, because of his experience. That is a pro basketball player that is the greatest shooter ever. And he's saying that this shooting sleeve helped him with his shot. That's going to have every young basketball player grab that shooting sleeve, looking just like Steph Curry. For example, again, this is a bad example, but you know how you see all of these clips on TikTok of these young basketball players shooting from half court. That's because they are highly influenced by Steph Curry. After seeing him masterfully do that, that's what they want to do. Here's another example from the NBA. Akeem Olajuwon, master in the post, best footwork in the game, right? Wemby, right? Wemby just got done working with Akeem Olajuwon, and it took his game to a whole nother level because he went and learned from one of the GOATs on something he is the greatest of all time at. Passing down that knowledge, using that and applying it to his game. It's the same thing with these GOATs teaching us how they would approach paradiddle, inverted paradiddles, double strokes, flams, all these different rudiments, and showing us different ways on how they were able to create what they created. With that being said, here's the way I believe we can fix this when it comes to just everybody you see on social media sounding the same. One, that's the algorithm. That's what gets views. That's what gets people's attention, is when you're showing clips of you going in like that. People like watching that type of stuff. So you can't make that a oh, the whole world is sounding the same when the algorithm is just giving you what is trending and what's being put out there. That's a whole nother lesson on algorithms and social media. But one of the ways that we can fix this is pretty much anybody that is coming up in drumming, or your kids are coming up in drumming, show them a more variety of different genres of music. We're listening to the same stuff. That's why we start sounding the same. But again, it's literally like a language. Once again, this is not a bad thing. It's just like you have a New York accent. You lived in New York half your life. You pretty much are who you are around. Chicago has a different accent. Mexico has a different accent. Germany has a different accent. That's why Chicago sounds like, and they've been evolving. I've been here, I've seen it. Like Josiah does not sound like Calvin Rodgers, okay? There's influence from it, but they're like, it's still different. And another thing, a lot of you guys that are complaining, it's no shot to y'all, but you gotta improve your ear. You have a lazy ear. If you sit in a room and you see Calvin play, right? And then you see Teddy Campbell play and say, oh man, they all sound the same. You have a lazy ear. You're telling me you just hear paradiddles. You don't hear how it's applied. You're telling me you just hear single stroke rolls, but you don't see how it's illustrated on the kit differently. This could be an example of me having a lazy ear. Maybe, maybe not. But I could use the same argument when I'm listening to metal. If I hear someone does blast beats and then I hear another one does blast beats, well, they sound the same, right? I could say Ellis DePariano and Matt Garstka, because they're both metal drummers, play the same, when that's clearly not the case. Because I'm not just listening for blast beat after blast beat after blast beat. I'm actually listening to how they're applying everything in that genre. I think I said this a while ago when I was discussing different metal drummers, but I can name 4 off the top that don't sound the same. Matt Garstka, Ellis DePariano, Matt McGuire, Chris Turner, okay? Like, if you can look at me and honestly, without a smile on your face, you're not breaking your face, and tell me all 4 of them sound the same. Tell me why, without saying they all do blast beats. That's a prime example of, like, you're not listening to hear a difference. You're lazy listening. I can't make a better saying than that. That's what it is. Before I end this video, I really want to go back to the term of gospel drummer. While I take it as a compliment, I definitely understand, because it is being used as a slur in a way. All right, I can give you a perfect example. I've seen some comments on some of my YouTube shorts. Yeah, so this comment was very funny to me, but it actually, it brings up this conversation on this term of gospel drummers, these church drummers, and why I feel like sometimes you're using it as a slur, and I know you are. So I did a reaction video to Virgil, another GOAT, right? And this comment was, "This is way above your head, Joshua. Anytime you use my full name, you trying to trigger me." The only people that use my full name is when I'm in trouble or they mad at me. They don't say Josh, they go straight to Joshua, right? Don't try to decipher the playing. Stick to your gospel chops and 4/4. Now, obviously, hate comments is gonna be hate comments, whatever. I know it's social media, but this is something that needs to be addressed and brought to your attention. The term gospel chops in that way was not a compliment. We know that, and here's how I can prove it. Anytime I play a paradiddle, and Vinny would play a paradiddle, or I would play a double stroke roll, and Thomas Lane would play a double stroke roll. Why am I getting labeled as mine being gospel chops? We're playing the same rudiment. Why is his rudiments and mine is gospel chops? Think about it. All right, so in closing, we'll go back. It all comes down, in my opinion, to influence and inspiration. And it's to a specific drummer. So when you guys see younger drummers doing stuff like that, understand where they're getting their influence from. And instead of tearing them down, and because, you know, I understand this conversation for a positive conversation, but a lot of people are doing this conversation as a negative, and, you know, they're doing that as a way to throw shots at certain drummers that they're, you know, jealous of, honestly, because they can't do some of the things that they see that's going viral. It is what it is. That's really what it is. But instead of tearing people down like that, why not educate those younger drummers, show them different styles, show them different types of music, and watch what happens. Huge shout out to Jeremy Haynes. Jeremy Haynes has been giving me tons of different albums of drummers that he made sure it was drummers I didn't know, right? Music that I never would have went out and looked for. And when I tell you there are different sounds out there, I'm talking to the ones that think all drumming right now is the same. There are different styles of drumming out there. The music that I've been digesting proves that. And I'm loving every bit of it. It is helping me tremendously evolve on the drums and develop my own sound. It is helping me understand musically my role. Once again, my job behind here is not to always just lock in on the 2 and the 4. It's much bigger than that, much bigger than that. I've said that countless times. I always open that for a conversation with the drummers that I interview on the In and Out of Pocket podcast. Every drummer has had a different answer on what is pocket. And all of the answers is the answer, in my opinion. And what I'm learning from listening to all of these different styles of music, the drums are the same. The music's different. The vocabulary is different. The approach is different. Improve your ears if you think everything is the same. Once again, if you hear paradiddles and call every drummer the same when you hear them playing paradiddles, you're listening the same because you're not paying attention to what they're doing with the paradiddle. That's it. Shouts out once again to Cowboy Drummer, man. We probably gonna have to do a deep dive conversation on the channel about that. But this is great. This is great conversation. Great stuff that needs to be discussed with the drum community. And yeah, it's a lot more than just this. It's a lot more than just this. But hey, we can start somewhere. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen any of my interviews on the In and Out of Pocket podcast, I will leave the end screen. You'll be able to pick and choose. We got Calvin Rogers, Thomas Pridgeon, Calvin Napper, Tony Taylor Jr. Really look at those interviews and listen to what they're saying. You'll learn a lot. All right? That's been another episode of the In and Out of Pocket podcast from a different viewpoint. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe. We're about to hit 300,000 subscribers, so get on that. We can hit that before this year is out. Also, make sure to check out my drum course. Links down in the description box below. And whenever you purchase my drum course, send me a clip of your playing 30 days from when you purchased it. Email it to me, tag me on Instagram, and yeah, I would love to feature it on the channel. See you guys on the next one. Woo! Stop practicing in circles. Start actually building killer chops today.